Hey guys, Predzilla here. Welcome back to another video. In this video, I will be reviewing the SH Monsterarts Biollante Special Colored version. After owning this figure for about a week, I have come to the conclusion that I absolutely love this figure, and I do not regret buying it whatsoever. And it's actually insane that I own the SH Monsterarts Biollante, although this is, of course, the special colored version. But let's be real, it's basically the same figure, just with a different paint job, which is obviously what special colored versions are, just the same figure, but a different paint job. So, it's still the SH Monsterarts Biollante. And I just can't believe that I own it. I can't believe it. Like every time I come in my room and I see it, I just get so excited because I never thought that I would own this figure that has been praised to be the best SH Monsters figure out there. You know, of course, which is why the original is so much in price. And then they decided to make a special colored version, so I had to take the opportunity that was obviously in front of me to get this figure because I knew that there was going to be no other opportunity to get this amazing figure. So I obviously worked for it and was a lot of raking leaves and pulling weeds and all types of yard work, and definitely paid off with $300. So that was a bit of a journey there, but like I said, I do not regret it at all. But getting into the paint job, I think the paint job is pretty good for the most part, and I'll explain my kind of issues with the paint job here in a bit. But I do like the paint job. I can't compare it to the original because I, of course, don't own the original, so I can't say that it's better or worse than the original, but I have seen some comparisons, and I do think the original, in some sorts, is better than this, and I say that because I think that this figure would be way better if it had dry brushing. This figure has, as far as I can tell, no dry brushing. It might have a little bit of dry brushing on the top of its head because it looked like there's like dirt in the like scales here, so that might be a little bit of dry brushing. But besides that, there's like no dry brushing on this figure. And the original, of course, had dry brushing mainly in the face. I can't say for sure if it had dry brushing anywhere else because, of course, I don't own that figure, but I have seen a close-ups of the face, and that face does definitely have dry brushing, where this one obviously doesn't. Also, the tusks for the original have a bit of a dry brushing on it, which look fantastic. Here, it doesn't have that. It has a little bit of dry brushing, but not much. Not as good as the original. And there are some paint chipping, mainly on like the vines of the teeth and all that kind of stuff, which usually isn't a thing I care about, but for a $300 figure, that is something I'm actually going to be pointing out. The teeth is actually, I usually don't necessarily care about the teeth, and I hear it's not bad. I know people who are pretty critical about this kind of stuff will be like, oh, it's pretty 50-50, but I guess it's kind of same situation here. I think it's 50-50 for the most part, and I don't think it's terrible. But out of that, getting into the articulation, though being pretty limited, it is actually really, really good. First, we'll go over this part of the articulation. Not sure, but I think this is supposed to move, maybe? I could have swore that I seen that this was supposed to move, and like it moves up or moves down or something like that, but I just can't seem to make it move, and I don't want to force it because I don't want to end up breaking it. But this part right here, of course, moves, and that does with allowing Biollante to look up. And then you have this thing right here, obviously, that you push up, and boom, now you have Biollante staring up into the sky. You might be able to get her to look up a bit more, but that is as far as I can get it without forcing it. And you could, of course, just kind of put the head down a little bit to make Biollante look a bit more intimidating, which is how I have her up on my shelf, because I think it looks much better with her kind of standing tall and powerful, other than, like, kind of like this, where she's kind of hunched over, it looks like a little bit. But I mean, either way, it looks pretty cool, but I like it being much more taller because I think it looks way more better. But you can get the figure to look down a little bit, but not by much. And of course, you don't want to force it because, you don't want to break this part, and you don't want to break anything else. So you kind of don't want to force it. So I believe that's as far as you can get it down. And we also have the mouth, obviously, that we were just recently talking about, that opens up. I'm not sure how far the mouth is supposed to open up, but that is as far as I can get it to open up as of now. I might be able to get it to open up a bit more, but I don't want to force it because I don't want the figure to break. So I'm trying to be very careful with this figure, but for the most part, it opens up pretty wide, so I think it's fine like that. But if it is, or if it can open wider than that, then please let me know in the comments down below, and I'll try to do some more heating on it and try to open it up a little bit. But hopefully no one's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, it totally does that," and then I try to do it and it doesn't go, and I end up breaking it. That would be a big troll, and I would not be happy about it. But that's what happens when you're on the internet. But out of that, for the base of the articulation, 3/4 of the vines slash tentacles, or whatever you want to call them, are pretty top notch. And I say that because this one is the weakest link, and that is because, boom, it pops off very easily. But I was expecting something like this to happen because, obviously it wouldn't be an SH Monsterarts figure if there wasn't an issue with it. And I have to try to get it back on now. Come on now. Come on now. And also these joints are pretty small, so it kind of makes it a bit more difficult. So I'm going to try and stay away from that one to not mess with it, because it's pretty frustrating. And, it is what it is. Nothing I can really do about it. I mean, I could send the figure back to get a new one, but what are the chances that I won't have the same issue or more issues? So it's kind of a pretty big chance to just send this one back with really no issues but that. And it's not really a huge issue. It just becomes a bit frustrating over time. But the other vines are absolutely fantastic. You can get a ton of articulation out of these, though in some parts it is a bit limited because, of course, it's not going to be like, freaking, I don't know what you can really compare it to, like wild, I guess. But you do get some pretty nice articulation out of it, which is really nice to see. And what makes me most excited about this figure is that you can get some crazy poses with the Biollante vines, and of course the mouth's open as well. Not necessarily super wide, but they can open, which is nice. This one, I think it's this one, is a bit like, kind of like a tur, so it's has some issues. So that is unfortunate, but it's an easy kind of like, just move it and fix it. So like that. And also there's a tongue in the vine, which is interesting, though I have noticed that before. I just didn't necessarily recognize it. And I don't even think Biollante has a tongue. No, she does not, because she has just like millions of rows of teeth. But that is really all the articulation. Pretty limited, but it is really nice. Of course, you do also get articulation in the base of the vines. That is how Biollante moves, I believe. So that is also a addition to the articulation. In terms of accessories, the figure does not come with any accessories. It does come with like this little manual that kind of explains what to do for the figure and how to assemble all the parts and like the warnings and all that kind of stuff. So that's, I guess you could say, an accessory, but the real kind of accessory that this figure has is this little thing right here, which I'll turn off my light so you can see. And there's a little switch at the bottom, and you don't have to buy batteries for this figure, which is great, because if I had to buy batteries, that would be upsetting. And then you have this one, which is obviously orange, which is the color that the thing already is. So it's my least favorite color that the figure has, but I think this is like maybe when she's neutral, or like, not in angry form, or whatever emotion she would be having in this. And then it switches to red, which is my favorite. I guess on camera it's kind of coming up on as like a dark orange, so that's not necessarily good. But in real life, it's like almost, it's like a, I wouldn't say dark red, and it's obviously not blood red, but it's red. I guess is what you could call it. But it is. I'm not sure how it's going to come out when I am finished recording this video. But from what I can tell, it looks like it's a bit of orange. So it's a lot more redder than it is on camera. I don't know, how's it look when it's on lighting? Obviously makes it worse. So I'm going to turn that off so I don't waste the battery, if I can find the switch. There we go. So, overall, the figure is really amazing, though I have obviously the minor issue here. But the other thing that I want to touch on that I have an issue with is the price. Is it worth the price? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense of, like, you really aren't going to find another opportunity to get an SH Monsterarts Biollante cheaper than $300, depending on where you purchase the figure. Like, there might be some special sale that will have this figure for, if you're lucky, $250 instead of $300. So you might be able to get it cheaper than $300, but I'm not sure how likely it is. But I say no, because $300 is a lot for a figure, and SH Monsterarts figures are very sketchy because there's a lot of issues with SH Monsterarts figures. So it's kind of like, when I got this figure, I was super nervous because I was like hoping that the figure wouldn't fall apart in a million pieces. Obviously, I do have one of the issues that I expected to happen, which is unfortunate, but I think it's like, I'm very surprised that it has really no other issues, so I'm happy about that. Though I imagine sometime in the future, once the joints start to weary, that the figure will start to fall apart a bit more, which is an issue that I'm going to be having, so hopefully it is not going to come to that until like at least 5 years later, because I do have some plans for this figure. But yeah, if you have the money for it and you want the figure, definitely go for it. But if you can get it any other cheaper way, then I would try to find it anywhere cheaper. But I don't know. It's kind of like it's a very confusing choice, because it's like, it's an expensive figure that is high possibility that it will have issues, or maybe medium possibility that it'll have issues. But it's also like, this figure is amazing, and you might not ever get a possibility, though it's like 99% chance that you won't ever get a possibility to get a figure like this at the price that it is. So it's kind of like, it's very hard choice, and it's a hard choice that I decided to take because of, you know, with the price situation, and if I don't get it now, then eventually it'll be way higher. And my parents tell me like, oh, if you wait a little bit, the price will go down. Like, no, that's not the case for SH Monsterarts. As soon as it's sold out, the price goes way up. So I wanted to get this as soon as possible, and I'm very excited that I have it. And like I said, if you have the money for it and you want to get it, then go for it. I mean, it's really your decision. It's your choice. I'm just trying to, make a review for it to give my opinion on it. How I think about the paint job, my experience with the articulation and all that kind of stuff. So this is like just really my opinion. Obviously, that's usually how most reviews are, is just opinion and not necessarily for anything else, unless you're sponsored to do it and you don't really care at all. You just like review it. But I'm not necessarily sure how often that happens because I've never been sponsored. But I'm a very small channel, so that's expected. But comparing it to the SH Monsterarts Godzilla 2019, I can try to do this here. You can see, like this, the figure is pretty equal, but of course, once you have it in beast mode, is what I'm gonna call that, you can see that Biollante is at least, I don't know, maybe an inch taller than Godzilla 2019. That's just my guess. And obviously, like, through this way, obviously the figure is much more bigger than that. But in terms of, like, yeah, look at this over here, this way, this figure is longer than this one, so I'm not sure where I'm going with that comparison. Also, I have the Godzilla 2014 tail on the 2019 figure. I figured I'd do that because I had issues with the 2019 tail, so I figured to make this figure better, I would just put the 2014 tail, and then I put the 2014 or 2019 tail on the 2014. So now that figure is not as good as it originally was, but I like the 2019 better than the 2014 in terms of design, so I think that decision by me is a-okay. But that is my review for the SH Monsterarts Biollante special colored version. Let me know what you guys think about this figure in the comments down below. Like your opinions on the figure, if you own it, or if I convinced you to buy it, or if I didn't convince you to buy it. It really all depends on money, because not everyone has a lot of money to buy the figure, which is obviously understandable. But like I said, for like the 5th time or something, if you have the money, then I would 100% go for it. But that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. This video is very long. Probably no one's gonna watch this video, but if you do and you're still here, I 100% appreciate it, and I'm very surprised that anyone really stick around for this long, because I feel like usually people stick around for about the first 2 minutes and then they're like, this guy sucks, I'm out here. But that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.